just saw it with Miami Dolphins. The pressure, he's in trouble. Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle. It's a Dolphin touchdown. Throwing deep upfield on the near side. Man open. Touchdown! Looking deep. He's got a man. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it for a touchdown. Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
You're listening to Fin Too Deep.
Tua back to throw. Blitz coming. They get to him. No, he takes off running. And he's in. Touchdown, Miami.
With the sixth pick in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Miami Dolphins select Jalen Waddle.
Giving you unfiltered, informed, and controversial takes on the Miami Dolphins and the NFL Draft. Here's Reason and Neal.
What is good, Fin Nation? What is good? It's your boy Reason. We're back here for another one on day 2. And listen, Neal, we're going to start off with some breaking news here. I'm going to play it for people so they can get the latest update on what's going on with Jalen Ramsey and his situation. We will get into it a little bit more in depth later on. But here is the latest on Jalen Ramsey.
My understanding is he's going to have an MRI at some point today on that knee. And look, this is the scary part anytime any of these players step on the field, that there's always the risk of something happening. We see Joe Burrow go down earlier this afternoon at the Bengals practice, and we see Jalen Ramsey leave the Dolphins practice having to get an MRI on his knee to determine how much damage, the extent of the damage that there is in there. Now, we don't know how serious the knee injury is yet, but he did suffer a knee injury, and hopefully everything works out for Jalen Ramsey and the Dolphins, and it's not a serious knee injury.
So there is the latest on it, Neal. I mean, not a great way to start off the show, but Jalen Ramsey, non-contact injury, goes down after having a huge play at practice today, breaking up a deep pass from Tua Tagovailoa. Not good news, Neal. Not good news. I wish we were starting this episode off on a little bit of a better foot.
Yeah, I mean, man, this is as big as it gets this early on, right? Like, you know, outside of losing a quarterback or Tyreek Hill, to me, this is the biggest news. And, you know, I was fearing that the reason we weren't hearing anything was that an MRI was coming. You know, I'm not a doctor, but I know that there's a reason that he's getting an MRI. And, you know, I hope that it's not significant. I know we all hope it. It's very unfortunate, man, when, you know, you get a player the caliber of Jalen, and this is, you know, the bad element of football is that the injury bug can bite at any single time. You know, I don't really have much to say about that. I won't speculate anything because I think that's just doing a misjustice. I'm nervous.
Did I say non-contact injury? Because it was a contact injury.
It was a contact injury.
Yeah, it was a contact.
I'm very nervous. I'm worried. You know, just because when it's a player of that caliber, you know, it's, you know, that was the big ticket acquisition, you know, and I'm not going to be a doom and gloomer. I think we got to see what happens here. But, you know, I think right now all the prayers in the world to Jalen Ramsey, the Dolphins. I mean, this is a big moment of the year, and it's the second day of training camp.
Yeah, I just that's why I corrected myself, because I thought I said non-contact, but it was a contact. Listen, I mean, this is, thank God we drafted Cam Smith. I mean, I don't know what else to say. This is why, and even an MRI doesn't mean it's this, you know, that could be, is it a sprain? How significant is it? There's so many different layers and levels to all this. Again, we got to wait for more details to come out, but you know, it was you could tell it was pretty obvious when Joe Burrow limped off the field today, and Zach Taylor immediately after practice was quick to say that, it's just a calf strain, while the Dolphins were pretty mum on it, but the players were quite positive, right? Like Holland talked about it after practice. He was positive after talking to Jalen Ramsey.
Cater.
You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, let's just listen. Bubble wrap that, man, because this is what I said. This is what I said to someone earlier, Neal. Jalen, this defense better than anyone. I get you got that hunger like you ain't won a championship before. But, brother, the reps that count start in September, my friend. They don't start at the end of July. And I get it. I can't knock him because the competitive nature, how he wants to win, wants to set the tone with the defense. I get that. But my guy, we need you in September. July, give Cam and Cater the reps. Let them and Trill the reps if they're letting him work outside the safety position. You don't need them right now. Like, even if it's a little bit of a scare and it's a little bit of a strain, ease up. Just chill out. Put some bubble wrap on that man. Do your thing. Come in for a few reps here and there. But chill, like we need you in September, Neal. We don't need you in July.
If I'm Mike McDaniel, I'm taking a hard look at this roster and I'm saying who are the people I need to see and the people I don't. And hopefully we get the outcome we want here. But I'm being careful with Tyreek Hill. I'm being careful with these guys because there's not a lot they have to prove out there. And I understand competition matters and kind of the old iron sharpens iron cliche that we hear. But at the end of the day, like, this is one of the reasons I as excited as I am for NFL training camp, this is one of the reasons I hate it, right? Like, something like this can happen. One thing I'll say is that the cart coming out is a lot different in the preseason than it is in an NFL game.
Because that's right?
It's a precautionary measure. Like, if someone has a injury and you're on a practice facility and the training room is hundreds of yards away, it just makes no sense for them to walk. This is technology. Yeah. This is, I drive to work. I don't walk to work, and I could walk to work if I wanted to. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so it's like one of those things. It's like, but look, I'm nervous. Look, it could be a deep bone bruise. You might be out a couple months. That to me is good news. The one dreaded thing you fear is surgery is needing, and he's out for the year. And that's where, again, the guy who I'm following closely is Pro Football Doc on Twitter, because that guy's
he wants to see a video though, right? Like, he needs to see a video, right? Like, there's no video of it. That's what's going on right now.
Right. So we'll see. There's not much more above that. I mean, I wish we had the secret answer that everyone's looking for. I wish we could tell you that he's all okay, but right now we don't know.
This guy, Finn's Rule, says I drive 3 houses down to the mailbox.
Well, so do I.
Listen. I got a big Patreon update coming for all of y'all tonight. We're going to be talking Dalvin Cook in the Patreon update on 3 Takes. I'm also going to be talking Eric Ezekama. Funny enough, if we have time, we're going to go over later. Barry Jackson dropped an article on Eric Ezekama just like an hour or two ago, but I've got further details on what he's touching on and what Eric Ezekama touched on in his post-conference presser. So I got details on Eric Ezekama. We got a lot of details in that that you guys are going to want to stick around for on Patreon. Be on the lookout for that tonight, the newest episode of 3 Takes. But there's going to be a lot of good Dalvin little nuggets in there. But just sticking with this Jalen Ramsey thing for a second here, and then we'll go on to Dalvin, and then we'll get into training camp, Neal. Just to keep everyone, who's tuning in on their drive home, wherever they may be, what happened. And we'll do this today. So Jalen Ramsey was carted back to the locker room after practice. And this is from Marcel Louis-Jacques. Miami Dolphins quarterback Jalen Ramsey left Thursday's practice early after colliding with wide receiver Tyreek Hill and was carted back to the locker room afterward. The 3-time All-Pro participated in 11-11 drills in the team's 3rd day of training camp, but appeared to get tangled up with Hill while in coverage. Both players fell to the ground, and Ramsey sat upright for a few seconds before standing to his feet. He attempted to walk off the injury before leaving the field under his own power. Team athletic trainers tended to his left knee for the remainder of practice, and Ramsey was carted back to the locker room at the conclusion of practice. There was no official word on his status immediately after practice. Kader Kohu said he's going to be good when asked about the secondary mate, while safety Javon Holland said he spoke to Ramsey on the sideline, but did not want to speculate on any potential injury. And there you go. And then obviously the Dolphins, it goes into the details of what they traded. So, again, we don't want to start off training. I just read an article a couple of days ago, Neil, about Dave Hyde, and I read it on air, and it was all about, we don't want a lot of noise in training camp. Sure, we want to hear this player's electric or explosive, but we don't want distractions. We don't want injuries. We want a nice, quiet, getting ready for a run camp. And here we are, day 2. Hopefully, listen, if it's a tear, hopefully it's a sprain, right? If it's a tear, let's hope it's a sprain. Okay, a mild sprain, because people tend to forget that sprains are tears. So let's hope that it's a mild sprain. Or let's hope it's a deep tissue bruise, like you alluded to earlier. Let's hope it's, let's hope it's nothing. Let's hope he wakes up tomorrow and he feels a-okay. But Neil, prayer circle, my friend.
Well,
Prayer circle.
The one thing that that gets frustrating is you sit there and you're waiting for the Jalen Ramsey tweet to be like, "I'm good, y'all," something like that, and you just, we don't. Our team's pretty private when what's available and what you're allowed to record while you're at camp. So there's not a lot of video, because I do think if there was a video of this, we would know the outcome already.
Oh,
I
and
think
you and I can both agree that this regime, the McDaniel regime, people are a lot more tight-lipped around McDaniel than they were around Flores. It's way more tight-lipped.
Well, the one thing I'll say that it's going to be a little different than I think even though we saw last year's. And Mike McDaniel even admitted himself, he learned from his mistakes. I think they're going to be really careful on how they announce injuries going forward.
The Byron Jones.
The Byron Jones thing haunted them all year, right? It was tough, but I don't know. We'll see. I mean, look, we'll see very, very soon. I mean, we'll hear first thing tomorrow morning. We might even hear later tonight. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that we'll know something soon.
Cam Smith, you're up, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, look, we'll if whatever the outcome is, we'll speculate, probably next week on it, what that means for this football team. But it could be just something that keeps them out for a couple weeks, couple days. At the end of the day, we have no control over this. I kind of joked online earlier, and I said literally, I got a note that I got a package at my door, and I got my FOCO Welcome to Miami Jalen Ramsey bobblehead today, and I'm just like, what the, come on, man. Like,
can I say this, Neil? I was talking to EM earlier around the phone, and Jalen Ramsey doesn't have an injury history
at all.
I'm like, this is so dull. I'm like, and you know what I mean? Like, this is just so Dolphins.
Yeah, man.
I don't.
Just prayers. That's all we can do.
I don't know. This is just so. But hey, I'm not ready to jump off a bridge. I'm not ready to call it quits just yet, baby. Okay. Even if I believe in a talent like Cam Smith, I believe in a talent like Kader Kohu, I believe in a talent like Nick Needham, collectively to try and pick up that. No one can pick up the slack individually for Jalen Ramsey.
Yeah, but he's one-on-one.
Collectively, hopefully we can get some kind of production similar to what he would have given us. I think Cam Smith could be a breakout first-year corner. But hey, more opportunities for the young kid in camp, right? Let's go. Either way, whether you shut him down as a precautionary measure or due to whatever they find out, more chances and more opportunities for the young kid to get up there, and a guy like Bryce Thompson, who's been a nice little delight so far. So, hey, we'll see how it all works out. I'm sticking positive, Neil. I'm not losing it, Neil.
Well, I think we can't overreact to it. We don't know. I think we as humans tend to always fear the worst. And that's how I am. I'm like that. But like an MRI is a precautionary measure, right? There is many times where people get MRIs and it does not show damage. If you would have asked me 48 hours ago, I'd have told you Chauncey Gardner-Johnson looked like he was done for the season. He was carted off the field, and it looks like he's going to be fine. So, I think in today's world, the NFL, they're just more cautious than they used to be. They want to take the parameters. The teams want to make sure that they're doing right by the players. Like, they want to make sure, at the end of the day, we will see and we'll all react a certain way once we get the news. But right now, it's, it is what it is. We can't change it. There's no magic wand to make it go away. Right now, Jalen Ramsey's getting an MRI, and there's a chance that he might not be here this season. If it is, the season doesn't start, and this team's still the Miami Dolphins that are a loaded roster. And while it's a huge ding in the armor, I'm not gonna kick away the season and say there's nothing we can do. Because if the quarterback and the offense takes the step, there's a lot. So it's the unknown is frustrating for everybody. And I'm not going to get in there and on Twitter and play like the politics and flip out and overreact. We'll see, man. I'm nervous. I hate this kind of crap, and it does feel like like when everything's going right for the Dolphins and everything starts to head the right direction, something has to happen that kind of punches in the face. But you know what? That's how my life's been my whole life. It's never been perfect. My road is always, going like this, and then I hit a speed bump and I got to figure it out. And that's just life, man. So the show goes on.
Neal, I got to ask you the question. I'm not going to get into the exact details I know of the situation. I'm going to wait for the 3 Takes episode. But when I saw this update this morning from Tom Pelissero that Dalvin Cook is flying today to New York for a visit with the Jets this weekend, the first thing that popped into my head is, and you saw it spreading around Twitter like wildfire. The first thing that popped into my head was, oh, this camp knows what they're doing. They want everyone to know Dalvin Cook is going to New York, and this is the first serious team or inquiry that he's willing to go on a visit for. What were your thoughts when you initially saw this? Because, you got a feeling like, is this a play for them to try and up his value in the running back market and to show other teams who might be interested in Dalvin Cook, hey, we're starting to take teams serious, and the first team we're taking serious is the Jets, not the hometown Dolphins, who you all think were a lock to sign with?
This is why the NFL is probably the best business there is there's everything happens and it's so fluid, right? What happens today impacts decisions you're going to make in the next minute, in the next hour, right? I think what we're seeing is Dalvin Cook and his representation doing everything they can right now to get Dalvin Cook signed to the biggest contract they can. And for me, it seems like it's an AFC East battle royal for his services between the Patriots, the Jets, and the Dolphins.
Because the Patriots want to visit. It came out the Patriots want to visit now.
Right. What I know is he wants to be a Dolphin. And when he said that he's going to visit New York, he's posting a picture of him running against the Dolphins. Like everything he does is about the Dolphins. You and I talked to some similar people, and I was told in confidence it's not over. I posted that out there. I think the Dolphins are still in this race. I think Dalvin Cook's trying to see what he can do to get signed, man. And look, you can't blame Dalvin Cook for doing this. Like, Dalvin doesn't have many big paydays ahead of him. This is probably the biggest check that he's going to see in the remainder of his career, probably the remainder of his life. You know what I mean? I don't know what he's going to do beyond football, so I don't want to say, that there's not things that he's going to accomplish down the road. But in his terms of his football career, he wants to be a Dolphin. The Dolphins gave him an offer that was insulting to him. We've been on here. I've seen now people starting to say that it's been $4 million. Me and you said that about a month ago. We said it a month ago.
We were the first ones that had it. What do you mean? Like, we were the first ones that had that.
But I look at this in multiple angles. Like, for the people that are saying, "Oh, Chris Greer, you're failing. You're asleep at the wheel." Dalvin hasn't signed anywhere. Yeah. How is he asleep at the wheel?
What if we told Neal again? What were we the first to tell everyone? What were we the first to report and tell everyone? That the understanding on both sides is the Dolphins are going to have a chance to match or come in and around an offer he's willing to take.
Right. Look,
unless it's $8 million and really player incentive friendly, really player friendly incentives to get up to $10-11 million. I don't see them being scared away by much.
I think how this plays out, Reason, if you're asking me to predict it, I think that the Patriots and the Jets will probably offer more than the Dolphins offer. And as if the Dolphins come in a sniffing range of that offer, they'll be a Miami Dolphin. That's how I see it. Yeah. I would say this, though. I'm probably not as confident as I was a week ago that he'll be a Dolphin, but I'm not.
But you said the key word, though. People need to listen what Neal's saying. as long as they come within sniffing range.
Right.
If they stay pat at their current offer, and these teams are offering 3 or 4 million base more plus incentives,
Right.
where do you think he's not going to say, okay, let me take 4 million when some team's offering me 7 base with incentives to get up to 9 or 10? You're taking the 7 to get up to 9 or 10.
Right. There's a difference between hometown discount and insanity, and I don't think that Cook's representation is going to let him make a bad football decision. He wants to be here. He'll probably play for look, $2 million in a contract of that size is significantly less money. I think he would play if the number's $8 million. I think he'd play in Miami for 6.5.
And if the Jets are willing to go a second year and Miami's not.
Right. So the Dolphins. Here's the thing: is if I've been saying this for months. If the Dolphins want Dalvin Cook will be a Miami Dolphin. We're going to learn that, and we're going to learn that in the next 72 hours, more than likely. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he's in New York on Saturday morning and breaking news is that the Miami Dolphins just signed Dalvin Cook. Like, I don't think, and he's also going to be on Good Morning Football tomorrow. So, this is his publicity tour to go out there and maximize what he's going to get. If he was that hell-bent on being a Jet, it would have been already done, in my opinion. Unfortunately for him, the Dolphins.
And Breece Hall doesn't seem happy. I don't know if you saw him tweet.
Well, I think that here's the thing is, if he picks the Jets, let's say he does pick the Jets, that's where he's going to make the least impact. So he's going to be practically there on probably a 1-year deal, or he's going to be riding the pine next year behind Breece Hall. If that's what Dalvin Cook wants to do, and he thinks that, because I also don't think Dalvin Cook is a ring chaser, meaning he just wants to jump on a talented team and try to win. And he'd be doing that in, I think the Jets are a talented team, and I think, and you guys know I love the Dolphins, and I think they are. So I think he wants to be in Miami, man, and that's where he's working out, and that's where home is. And at the end of the day, man, what these guys want when they get to pick their location, I'll say this: if the Dolphins don't make the move, I'm not going to burn down Chris Greer's house, because they went out and drafted Devin A-Chain. They sniffed around Saquon Barkley. Who's to say in 6 weeks when the Giants are in last place in that? They probably won't be in last place because the Commanders are pretty bad. But when they're already, their season's already gashed and they have nowhere to go, maybe the Dolphins say, you know what, we'll give another run at Saquon Barkley. So I don't want to I feel like we're prone to just get too up and down about certain moves. We got to let the whole movie play out, right? Like, you got to see what happens.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm actually happy the Dolphins aren't just acquiescent and giving Dalvin Cook everything that he wants, because that shows me that we're getting smarter as an organization. And that's more important than any player to me, is that this Dolphins team has a plan and they operate the right way. Now, look, sometimes players become available and you stray from the plan, but the way that Chris Greer operating to me right now, I'm just saying, man, I'm proud of the guy. I'm proud that he didn't give Christian Wilkins $22 million and say, here you go, take this bag of money. I want us to operate like this, man. That logo on the hat, the logo on the helmet, the logo on the jersey means so much more than the names on the back of the jerseys. And it's been a long time since we had an operation like this. We were a horrifically run NFL franchise for more than a decade. I think it's a breath of fresh air. I think Chris Greer is doing a great job.
All right, let's get into recapping training camp, and let's start off with, we've got about 5 minutes worth of highlights from day 2 to play for all of you, and let's get into those for everyone. Here is Dolphins day 2 of camp. Have you seen this clip, Neil?
Was this Terran Armstead?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, Armstead's not human.
Bro, this man, you got the boxing gloves on, huh?
Could you imagine having to fight this guy? I throw salt in his eyes.
Bro, just go low. Go for the knees. Go for the knees. Go for the knees, bro. As the boys getting ready.
But that's a perfect example to our point, Reason, when we say, I don't need to see Terran Armstead on the field. I don't care what our offensive line looks like in training camp. I know that Terran's there. He's going to look good.
Same with Jalen, right?
Right. All these guys, man.
Exactly. Hit that field, boys.
Yeah, they look good, man. I'll tell you.
I can't wait till the pads come on next week, brother.
They have a swagger to them, man, that, and I know it's early in training camp, but this team definitely has a swagger to them. There's a confidence to them. That's the word I'm looking for. There's a confidence to this team that I haven't really seen. There's our guy.
Yeah. And I see people in the comments section that are worried that he's not going to leave New York without a deal. Guys, if the Patriots are serious and want to schedule a visit with him, and if they actually schedule a visit with him, then he might leave New York without a deal anyways.
Dude, I did exactly it's been 10 years. 10 years ago, I did exactly what Dalvin Cook did. I went to my company's competitor. I was in their office interviewing, and I got more money to stay.
Look, here come the quarterbacks. The red men.
Yeah, that to a sleeve is badass.
It is badass, isn't it? Skylar Thompson continuing. He had a pretty good day today, eh?
Dude, Skylar's the real backup here.
Mike White's the Cedric Wilson of this year's offseason.
I believe it.
They had the guy in-house. They shouldn't have spent the money. That's basically what it was. Shout out to Alec Ingold being the first orange jersey wearer of training camp.
He's a player I'd like to keep around for another year.
Oh man, as long as he's productive, I want him in Dolphin colors.
Yep, I like him a lot.
Look, Braxton. Here's a little taste of Braxton returning. Just a taste.
Yeah, that's gonna be a big boost. There's Bradley Chubb looking good.
Get off, yeah. Man, he's gonna be a stud this year. I believe it's his. Who was this? Was that Josiah Bronson? I believe that was Josiah Bronson.
Damn, he has good pad level. You see how low he got?
I'm hoping I really can't wait till I see Fangio. I need some shots of Fangio in the heat. You know what I mean?
Oh man, that guy
roaming the sideline. That's what I need.
We all played for that one coach that you knew would chew you out as soon as you did something wrong. And that guy reminds me of so many of those kind of guys.
I know.
Like you knew.
He's old school, buddy.
Yeah, you go to the field and you did something wrong. You're look at nice
Cedric.
throw.
Look at Cedric.
Our number 6 receiver, Cedric Wilson, who would start on some teams.
Here's Bronson again.
They like him.
Yeah, they do. They're really high on him.
They feature him a lot.
He's wearing the Deion Jordan number, Duke Riley. They're wearing the Deion Jordan number, though, bro. He's got to bring some respect to it, you know?
Yeah. Save the 95.
David Long and Jerome Baker putting in work.
Yeah. I heard. I saw Travis Wingfield was saying that David Long had a nice day.
Yeah, man. Apparently had a really good day.
Good.
Apparently had a really good day.
I like David Long. I think that's one of the best values of the offseason.
Man, as long as he's healthy, I'm telling you, as long as he's healthy, he's going to be impactful, bro.
I think Baker's going to have a good year. Here
they are again with Coach Campanelli.
Get in there.
Yeah, I mean, as long as he's healthy, we might have a top 10 linebacker. You know, he might be one of the bargain deals of the last 5 years if he can stay healthy.
He was my 12th ranked free agent heading into free agency.
Yeah, he's a beast, man. You know, I know we all, even some of us, had our hopes on some of the big name veterans, but you got to be happy with the money they spent and what they got for the money spent. Unbelievable, bro.
Man, I'll tell you what, man. Just watching this, man, I love this team.
Bro, I can't wait. I can't wait. Honestly, I can't wait to get up on Sunday, fire up the stream, everyone in the comments, and just watch football. I'm ready. I am ready. I'm ready for the preseason. Let's go. I'm ready for the preseason. Let's go.
Yeah.
Man, let's get into this. So let's get into training camp. Let's get into some recaps here from the day, because it was quite the eventful day. And we'll start off with the Sun Sentinel. Let's start off with the Sun Sentinel. And with the Sun Sentinel, They said Tagovailoa fellow QBs were just so on day 2. Remember, on day 1, Tagovailoa only had 3 incompletions, and even Skylar was really good. So, Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa had a so showing on Thursday's day 2 of training camp. His first throw of a 7-on-7 was a nice pass to wide receiver Jalen Waddle on the left sideline for an 8-yard gain. After that, however, Tagovailoa looked very human. He wasn't bad by any measure, but he wasn't the guy who led the league in passer rating at 105.5 either. Cornerback Kader Kohu intercepted Tagovailoa over a pass over the middle intended for Tyreek Hill later in the 7-on-7 drill, and Tagovailoa had a near interception glance off the outstretched hands of Jerome Baker in 11-11 segment of practice. But Tagovailoa also had highlight throws, such as one in which he threaded the needle and hit wide receiver Cedric Wilson Jr., who was being covered by Kohu. Tagovailoa also had a 25-yard completion to Hill, and Tagovailoa had a nicely thrown pass dropped by Hill. There's those drops again. 2 days of drops. That's the second drop in 2 days by Hill, the All-Pro who punted the ball in frustration after a drop in Wednesday's practice. No quarterback was especially impressive on Thursday. Skylar Thompson had a sweet 68-yard touchdown pass to Braxton Berrios, who beat Cam Smith in coverage and also beat safety Kadron Smith, who appeared late rotating. Cam Smith was counseled briefly by Xavier Howard on the sideline after the play. But that was about it for Thompson highlights. Mike White, the former University School standout, had a fairly nondescript day, epitomized by short to medium gains. The run game wasn't much of a focal point Thursday. The defense did some good things aside from Kohu's interception as the snacks started flowing later in practice, highlighted by linebacker Cameron Good on White, defensive lineman Christian Wilkins on Tagovailoa, and they said snacks, but I think they meant sacks, and linebacker Malik Reed on Thompson. Wilson made his presence known a couple of times, Cedric Wilson, that is, on a pass over the middle from Tagovailoa and once on a pass from Thompson. Wilson, who will earn $7 million this season, needs a big preseason to establish himself as a factor in the receiver rotation, something he didn't do last year. Cornerback Ethan Bonner had a pass breakup on an underthrown ball to Hill, who was open on a deep pass from Skylar Thompson. Bonner, an undrafted rookie from Stanford, is a long shot to make the roster. Myles Gaskin had a solid day in the run game and the pass game. Gaskin appears to be locked in a battle with Salvon Ahmed, who had a nice day as well for perhaps the final running back spot. Keon Smith had an up and down day. He had a nice block against linebacker Duke Riley on a run play, but he might have allowed a sack by Emmanuel Ogba. Smith battling a host of players for the backup tackle job, including Cedric Oboye, Kendall Lamb, and Jaron Christensen. Tight end Eric Saubert had a couple of short receptions in the pass game. However, predictably, it didn't appear tight ends were targeted much. Oboye had mixed success against Bradley Chubb. He got beaten by Chubb on one play, took Chubb to the ground on another. And then there was a play where either Chubb jumped or Oboye had a false start. Overall, Oboye did okay against Chubb, but remember, players aren't wearing pads. They wear them next week. Stock up. Berrios had a strong showing today, highlighted by a 68-yard touchdown reception in which he outran the defense. Berrios didn't have any other highlights, but he had numerous other plays and didn't have any drops or mental errors. The Dolphins could use a solid play that's sometimes marketed by the highlight reel plays as they search for a number 3 receiver and kickoff returner. Stock down. Channing Tindall dropped a potential interception over the middle on a pass thrown by Thompson. He didn't necessarily have a bad day, but considering the 2022 third-round pick hardly saw the field from scrimmage last season, he needs to string together a lot of good days. And obviously the injury report, Ramsey was carted off. Jalen Phillips, who appeared to sustain a lower left leg injury late in Wednesday's practice. Wide receiver Freddie Swain and cornerback Keon Crossan didn't practice. Brandon Jones and Trill Williams are recovering from injuries from last season, so they were off today after practicing yesterday. Let's talk about it, Neal. What we're going to take away from this is 2 days in, we haven't heard anything about Robbie Chosen yet, Neal.
Interesting. I was thinking that while you were reading that, but I'll tell you this, man. We, from 1 through 6, have as talented as a receiving core, a complete receiving core that I can imagine any team in the NFL having in the last. I mean, when you have Cedric Wilson as your 6th receiver right now, like you're loaded. You know what I mean? But I am surprised by the lacks. But I see a lot of Braxton Berrios in a lot of these articles and all over Twitter. And I'm starting to think that this guy could have been one of the most unheralded, but great value signings that we made this offseason, because I think we all agree that he's going to be impactful in the return game. And that's a huge boost. How many times did I text you last football season being like, why the hell is Javon Holland back there just fair catching? You know what I mean? And I think it's huge, but I also think this guy's going to be lethal, man, in the slot. And I think he's going to eat up on linebackers. And I just have a feeling he's a guy that's going to build great chemistry with Tua, man. I'm on record. I think this is going to be Tua's breakout year. A lot of people say it was last year. I think it's going to be this year where he really establishes himself, and there's no question who this guy, is going to be in the league. But man, look, I'm not going to overreact to some Tyreek Hill drops and stuff in practice. At the end of the day, this team's passing attack is going to be absolutely lethal. And there's some things that, we're hearing behind the scenes that, get you really excited as well. I hope Robbie Chosen gets his opportunities, but like I said, for anyone that's not Waddle or Hill, man, you're going to have to fight for those opportunities. And when you get a chance, you better make it the most of it, because there's only so many balls that can go around.
Yeah. Continuing on, here's the Miami Herald's report from today. And they said Dolphins Pro Bowl cornerback Jalen Ramsey appeared to injure his left knee. Ramsey grabbed his left knee after defending Tyreek Hill on a passing play late in practice. The two got tangled up. He was able to get to his feet and stand for about 30 seconds and then took a few steps to get on the cart, but couldn't seem to put much weight on his leg. And then practice ended moments later. Ramsey had broke up a Tagovailoa deep throw to Jalen Waddle earlier in the day that apparently was a really nice play. Ramsey was the Dolphins' marquee offseason acquisition. If he misses times, Cam Smith and Kader Kohu would likely be the next options on the boundary. Mike McDaniel did not address the media on Thursday, and there wasn't any initial team comment on the injury. Ramsey, his injury was spoken of by Holland, and he didn't know the exact injury. Here's what else happened. Thompson and Berrios had the play of the day, that 68-yard passing play. But the defense, that's what this recap starts with, because this was a good day for several young defenders as they transitioned into Fangio's defense. And Kader Kohu, coming off a strong rookie season, showed great anticipation picking off Tua in 7-on-7 drills, a throw intended for Hill. Cam Smith knocked away a Mike White pass to Braylon Sanders in 7-on-7, so we didn't hear about that in the first update. That was Smith's third pass breakup in 2 days. Safety Ethan Bonner made 2 impressive pass breakups, including one on Hill. Mitchell Agudier beat fullback John Lovett for a sack on Skylar Thompson, and this is a guy we've talked about, Neal, and he was in our preview because he had a big OTA and he had a sack today. Aubrey Miller, he recovered a fumble yesterday, Neal, and then today stopped Devin Achane for a 2-yard gain, and he's had a strong first 2 days of camp. So the 2 young guys me and you liked, they're impressing our 2 UDFAs that we chose to make the team here, or really vie for those 53-52 spots. Channing Tindall broke up the Thompson pass. Cameron Good had a would-be sack. Jalen Twyman, here we go, stuffed Myles Gaskin on a run and Devin Achane on another. And I remember him coming out a couple years ago. I actually liked his film. His film wasn't actually bad, Neal, when he's coming out.
I had a second-round grade on Twyman.
Yeah. He was actually pretty good coming out. Tagovailoa finished Thursday with 1 interception, a 30-yard sideline completion to Hill in 11-11 drills, and several short to intermediate completions. 2 of the deeper throws ended with Ramsey pass breakup and a Hill drop. Eric Ezukanma dropped a pass in which he dove to the ground. Mike White's performance since becoming a Dolphin has been uneven, much like his career. He makes sharp, accurate throws at times, but there are also some head-shaking moments. On Thursday, he threw behind Elijah Higgins on one pass and badly overthrew on another. He also delivered a nifty 20-yard strike to Eazy-E. Thompson made 3 terrific throws in a 5-minute stretch, one to Robbie Chosen. There you go. For a 50-yard completion, another for 35 yards to Braylon Sanders, and a 68-yard touchdown of Berrios, who ran the last 30 yards or so. Also, during the 5-minute stretch of Thompson deep throws, he slightly underthrew Hill on a 40-yard bomb. Hill came back for the ball, but Bonner knocked it out of his hands. Berrios beat rookies Cam Smith and Keydron Smith on the long passing play. Miami's only TD of the day. Remember, we haven't run red zone drills in the first 2 days of practice. Jeff Wilson had 2 runs for chunk gains, and Raheem Mostert took off Jerome Baker for a nice gain. Jalen Phillips, who appeared to injure his ankle slightly during Wednesday's practice before returning to team drill. So there you go. The other article didn't mention he came back. Here you go, guys. He came back. He did not participate in team drills Thursday because it was tweaked again. He was seen walking on the field early in practice on Thursday, but then moved into the training facility. Also not participating Thursday, receiver Freddie Swain and defensive backs Trill Williams, Keon Crossan, Brandon Jones. The reasons for the absences of Swain and Crossan weren't immediately known. For Jones and Williams, this could simply be a management issue as they return from torn ACLs. Among the 4 players on the PUP, they did not obviously practice. Rookie tight end Higgins dropped a Thompson throw 15 yards downfield. The rookie tight ends are struggling early on in camp. Julian Hill had a drop yesterday. Zach Skylar and Josiah Bronson had shared a sack on Tagovailoa. Alec Ingold wore the orange jersey, signifying the coaches named him the best player of Wednesday's practice. And David Long had a tackle for a loss on Myles Gaskin. Your thoughts on, obviously the Jalen Ramsey thing isn't serious. It's one of those nursing injuries.
Jalen Phillips.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, what did I say? Jalen Phillips. Your thoughts on Jalen Phillips and that little tweak he has, but also Skylar's looking good as QB too.
That was my headline. Skylar Thompson seems to be just taking the smack down to Mike White, and I think there's probably got to be some semblance of buyer's remorse on Mike White. Skylar Thompson is blossoming into a high-level backup, I think, behind the scenes here in Miami, where I feel confident that he can win football games for you, and that's a good thing. And I'm not going to sit here and say that he's going to play. I love to have a guy that is steady Eddie as a backup and can play some good football. And I just feel like we're seeing him really progress from year 1 to year 2. That is very exciting when you take a 7th round rookie quarterback, because what I think it really shows, and you saw the growth with Tua, is that Mike McDaniel could coach football, man. Like that, when you have quarterbacks that are playing at this level and getting better like that's kudos to Mike McDaniel. And another thing, man, these young linebackers are active, man. Channing Tindall seems like he's starting this camp with some fire in his belly, man, and that's what you want to see. Like making some plays on the football, getting to the football, like he can be a contributor. And then Aubrey Miller, I think this guy's got an outside shot to make the football team. He's going to be a good run defender. And then, I know we heard about Kader Kohu, and that was someone that I was kind of told behind the scenes had an awesome day today. I'll be honest, like even after the year he had last year, I entered this year with, just temper your expectations, Neil. Don't get too excited. I know that whatever metrics showed that he was the 3rd best corner in football, look, Neil, he was undrafted for a reason, but every time this guy's on the football field, he's making football plays, man, and he's making picks, and this guy might just be that diamond in the rough, and I think he's only going to get better under Vic Fangio. A lot of good young football players making plays, man. A lot of guys that, when you got undrafted guys making plays like Mitchell and Aubrey, and, those are guys that you mentioned that we had making the roster or fighting for 53-man roster spots. Man, this is the beauty of training camp. We've already talked about the downside with the injuries, but when you have young guys that are hungry to make the team, there are going to be starting caliber players on the Miami Dolphins practice squad. Don't get it twisted. This team is deep. It's good. There's nothing better than having 2 really good backups. If you're in a conundrum where Duke Riley is a potential cap casualty because Channing Tindall and Aubrey Miller outplayed him in training camp, that's a best case scenario for me. So kudos to the young linebackers, but I think the story of training camp so far has really been Skylar Thompson just seems in, man. He seems in the zone, and that he's a really good high-level backup player. And I know the Dolphins liked him, and they took a flyer in the 7th round, but I think he's going to be a guy, like I said this, I think last week, but he's a guy that you want as your long-term backup here now. I'm starting to feel that.
I agree. All right. So here is what Alan Pupar reported his observations, and this is basically his shared observations with him and Omar Kelly because they do it together. But unfortunately, nothing happened during practice that was anywhere near as significant as cornerback Jalen Ramsey being taken off the field on a cart after sustaining an apparent knee injury. In addition to the 4 players on PUP, 5 others were missing from practice. Jalen Phillips, Brandon Jones, Trill Williams, Freddie Swain, and Keon Crossan. Alec Ingold wore the orange jersey. The 3 quarterbacks, excluding rookie free agent James Blackman, all had solid performances. And we can easily say this was Mike White's best practice since he signed with the Dolphins in this. See, we didn't hear this in any other one. Now they're saying, his best throw of this session was a seam completion to Jalen Waddle, where he showed some zip, something we haven't seen often from him so far. So, I mean, this is, they're saying this is his best performance. No one else had said this. Cornerback Kader Kohou had the first interception of camp during a 7-on-7 session when he stepped in front of Tyreek Hill to pick off Tua Tagovailoa, but the Dolphins starting quarterback was on target the rest of the practice. Tua's first pass was a nice out to Waddle in 7-on-7. He later connected with Hill on a 20 to 25-yard passing on the sideline. Tagovailoa and other quarterbacks were victimized by drops throughout practice. That's an ongoing theme in the first 2 days, and the pads aren't even on, as it was not a glorious day for the receivers. I mean, they had 3 or 4 drops yesterday, and now everyone's highlighted the drops again today. Hill dropped an intermediate range pass from Tua over the middle after beating Xavier Howard inside. Elijah Higgins had a drop for a second consecutive day, this one from Thompson, and Izakama failed to come up with a low but very catchable pass from Tua running towards the sideline. The big play of the day was a 68-yard touchdown from Thompson to Berrios. After having solid practices in the offseason and Wednesday, this was a tough day for Cam Smith. In addition to the long touchdown allowed, he clearly made contact early on Braylon Sanders on a short pass into the 7-on-7s. Before he was injured, Ramsey also came up with a gem when he ran with Waddle step for step down the sideline and jumped to break up a deep throw by Tua. That's amazing. Rookie free agent Mitchell Agudier made his presence felt in one particular 3-play sequence when he got to Thompson for a would-be sack, and 2 plays later, tagged running back Devin Achane in the backfield after getting penetration at the line. Man, he's going off, eh? There you go. Second-year Channing Tindall was also more noticeable, though he did drop a would-be interception. Ethan Bonner had the nice pass breakup on the pass from Thompson intended for Higgins, and he had a pass breakup later on a deep pass intended for Hill. Raekwon Davis had a productive day in run defense. David Long met Myles Gaskin in the backfield on a running play, and Cameron Good quickly got past Keon Smith at the line of scrimmage. And just, sticking with their coverage because, they're basically the same freaking guys. Their top performers of the day, and this was off of Omar Kelly, Kader Kohou, Braxton Berrios, and Mitchell Agudier, and stock down was Elijah Higgins. Neil, should we be worrying about this tight end room? Because, not even do we have a stud. I mean, everything behind Durham Smythe seems to be an SHIT show. You know what I mean? The rookies and the young guy, Tanner Connor's hurt, right? The young guys aren't really look like they're struggling a little bit. We haven't really heard anything about Tyler Kroft or Eric Saubert over the first 2 days. Should they be not only looking at interior linebacker depth and interior defensive line depth, but maybe tight end depth on the open market?
Yeah, I think the good news is what you get with Durham Smythe. You're probably not going to get anything more, but you're not going to get anything less. And he's a guy who does his job, and he does his job well. They're throwing athleticism at the tight end position, and they're hoping they can find a Darren Waller is kind of how I see it. And,
yeah,
I think they did it with Higgins, and they had Julian Hill got a big write-up by Tony Pauline at Sportskeeda. I saw that. But, I guess it's just what your expectation. My expectations are that the Dolphins probably have the worst tight end room in the league right now. And as good as their roster is, that's just the fact. So I don't have high expectations from them. Is there going to be a better option that's out there? Like who becomes available? Let's see how it shakes out. Is there a trade piece? Is there the ability to call the Ravens and see what Isaiah Likely might cost? I'm just kind of thinking out loud, like what's out there. So
I've said Tyler Higbee could, especially if the Rams are selling, right? Like, could you get Tyler Higbee for like a 5th or a 6th?
Yeah. One thing that I'll say when you're reading those recaps is we really have some unique coverage of this team where we have a lot to different lenses that people.
Yeah, you see that, eh?
And it looks, and I'm just being, and
we're not done. We still got Travis Wingfields, and wait till you see his.
Well, I just think there's a lot of sometimes hidden agendas in some of this, man. And I was talking about that earlier today, and it just, man, one of the things that I don't like, and I'm just gonna real quick soliloquy that I don't like about how this team is covered when it comes to the Miami Dolphins beat, is I've watched the Jets beat put Aaron Rodgers on a pedestal here in Baltimore after he signed his contract. Lamar Jackson, you would have thought, was the second coming of Joe Montana, right? You've seen how the Chargers treat Justin Herbert. Our our team just doesn't give the same type of love. They don't want to focus on the great throws that Tua Tagovailoa makes. They want to focus on the bad throws. And I think, unfortunately, a lot of people's perspective in anything, and football is included in that, is shaped by the people they follow that cover the team. My football commandments this year are: watch out for fake accounts, consider the source when you read something,
Exactly.
and don't listen to everybody, because I don't care if you're credentialed to cover a football team. That doesn't mean you're great at it. And there's some that are really great. And I think you're going to do Travis here. And I think Travis does a really good
And
job.
Alf does a good breakdown when Alf goes down there, because he'll
Alf
do
does a good job.
his post. Alf does a good job too.
And I'm not crapping on anybody in particular. I'm just saying overall, like,
if you want my honest opinion, David Furones, Daniel Ofusi, and Barry Jackson, they feel like there's that's where you feel like you're getting the most unbiased, to me, reporting. Like there's no agenda play. They're just doing their job. Even Joe Shad has kind of changed. He went from what he said on Big O to a year and a half ago to even he's recognized to his greatness. You know what I mean? Like
I just think it's interesting, man, when everyone's watching the same thing, and we all digest things differently, no doubt.
Yeah, I agree.
But like even this Jalen Ramsey situation, I have not seen a good summary of what happened. Yeah. I haven't seen,
just they got tangled up and stuff.
Yeah, like I haven't seen somebody really. I mean, and like we could talk at length to that, but let's get into Travis.
So this is what Travis said, because this is Travis makes it seem like it was almost a David Long show for a little bit. He says, I thought we saw the impact of David Long today. His anticipation skills were on display as he was shooting gaps. He'd either make a stick for a stop or force it back to bend, bounce into his help. Very, very excited about his game. Kader Kohus was tremendous during 7-on-7, scoring a pass breakup and a pick. The pick was beautiful technique. Played up at the line, trailed Tyreek. Tua tried to layer it over, but Kader was in the hip pocket, found the ball, made the pick. Not the best ball from Tua. Kader made him pay. Raekwon Davis is off to a red-hot start. He had a pressure and a tackle for a loss in one period. Same story for rookie Mitchell Agudier, who was continuing what he showed in OTAs. Raekwon disengaged for a would-be big collision, tackle for a loss later. Jalen Ramsey had maybe the most impressive rep of the day, defending a one-on-one deep shot from Tua to Waddle. Good mirror, flip the hips, stay in phase, find the football, high point, and break it up. Got the D sideline fired up. He was later shaken up, however. Pass rush came to life today. Emmanuel Ogbah, he had him with 2 sacks today. Chubb had a pressure and a strong edge set on the stuff. He had Jalen Twyman with a sack and 2 additional pressures. Wilkins with a sack. Cameron Good with a potential sack. And Salvin Ahmed looks even faster than ever. He's picking his way through trash and then hits the accelerator quickly. Feels like the second year in the system is slowing things down for him. Jeff Wilson ran hard today, got the second level clean a couple times with good backside vision. Best play of the day for the offense was when the defense sprung Berrios free on a long ball for Skylar, who hit him for the 65-yard touchdown. So, man, we kind of touched on it earlier, Neal. The impact of if David Long, if he is healthy and he's in that lineup, my friend, and again, another guy, Mitchell, our boys that we picked, Mitchell Agudier and Aubrey Miller, they're making a case, my friend. Like that 52, 53 spot. I mean, you look for consistencies. You're going to see inconsistencies and things other people didn't mention. But what are the consistency takes? And, the takes are that, man, defense dominated the day. And Mitchell Agudier, some of the UDFAs came out. And,
right,
man.
Well, when we talk defensive tackle contracts, we're always talking about Wilkins and Zach Sealer, right? But we also forget Raekwon Davis is in a contract year as well. Yeah. And I have a feeling he's going to play his best football this year. And hearing about Emmanuel Ogbah, I don't know if everyone here knows Showtime. Showtime's all over Twitter. I was talking to him about it earlier. He was just really excited, talking about how he thinks Ogbah is going to go back to his style, kind of not being the forgotten man on this defensive line. And, for those who don't know who he is, Warren Sharp is probably in my top 5 when it comes to guys that I follow.
Yeah, he's a smart guy
who studies the game of football. He has a publication he puts out that it's worth whatever it costs to buy it. But he had the Dolphins ranked as the number 1 defensive front in football. I personally don't even agree with that. I think that they're in the top 3 to 5.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to argue because that guy, I said this on my timeline, he watches more tape probably in a week than I have in a year. So like I like it's coming from a good source. and I see some panic about the offensive line. Look, this defensive front's good. They're going to kick our offensive line's ass when Terran Armstead's on the sideline not playing. Like, I would get used to our offensive line struggling in training camp against this Dolphins defensive front. I don't think it's a good barometer of what they're doing, because I don't want Terran Armstead out there. I know what I have in him. I don't want to risk him getting injured. Let Kendall Lamb get some reps. Let him fight Cedric Ogbuehi for that spot, right? Like, this isn't about winning games right now. This is about evaluating your roster to have the best 53-man roster on Sundays. Like, keep your eye on the prize here. Like, this Dolphins defensive front is really, really good. They're going to win. They're going to beat a lot of teams' offensive lines up. I'm really excited about what I'm hearing, though, in training camp, because I'm seeing a lot of energy and a lot of good competition. And you know what that tells me? We have football players, man. We don't have players that are here just are counting their checks. We have real football players that are dedicated to this. And, I guess my two biggest takeaways from everything you went away, we've already talked about Skylar Thompson, but David Long is as advertised. And if he's that football player, all of our concerns about the linebacker position should go away.
When have you remembered the linebacker position being that's talked about on training camp days? It's been a while. It's been a while, my friend.
Well, I heard good David Long, good Aubrey Miller, good Shannon Tindall. I didn't hear a lot about Jerome Baker, but we, as Dolphin fans, we know more about Jerome Baker than any player on this football team. We know that he'll make his plays. There'll be runs where he gets washed out on, but he's a good football player. And he's the bat, he's the Robin, and David Long's the Batman there. So I'm really excited. This defense, to me, look, where I am. I know we're wrapping this up. Fingers crossed. All the prayers of Jalen Ramsey. It was just 48 hours ago when Chauncey Gardner-Johnson went down. He got an MRI, and he's good. So I'm hoping we get the same outcome. I think it's going to be a crazy 48 hours between Dalvin Cook and Jalen Ramsey news. And, one of the things I'll say to keep an eye on is, the Dolphins right now, right? Like, they're up against the clock when it comes to Dalvin. We'll see how interested they are. I think that between tomorrow and Saturday, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Guys, if you are there's over 490 of you in the room. If you are a Patreon, I got an episode of 3 Takes coming tonight. We're going to have a lot of details on the Dalvin Cook situation. There's a great article out there by Barry Jackson highlighting what Eric Izakama said today after practice. And he was basically talking, about how he's not in the tight end room, but John Embry pulls him aside and gives him little details and talking about how, filling in a little bit for the Gesicki role. Well, I'm going to give you a lot of details on that Eric Izakama situation. So you're going to want to tune in for 3 Takes. For channel members, I'm probably going to bring a written version of the 3 Takes I record for all of you detailing. We got a lot of details going on. Not just that, but we got a lot of stuff going on in that 3 Takes tonight, not just those 2 subjects. So if you're a Patreon, be on the lookout for tonight. I got to get out of here. The wife's going to see Barbie with her sister, so I got to watch the kids. As always, a pleasure, Neal. I believe the Dolphins are back at it tomorrow. Then they're off Saturday. Then they're back at it on Sunday for the first practice open to fans. So get ready, baby. It's coming at you fast. We will see y'all on the next one, and I will see you the next time the Dolphins practice, which I expect to be tomorrow. Until then, fins up all day, every day, and we'll see y'all on the next one. Stay happy, healthy, safe, and blessed, everyone.